Hey guys, Jim here again to bring you guys another 5 prediction video. This time we're covering the UFC 170's main event that features a pivotal light heavyweight matchup between the former UFC light heavyweight champion and Ultimate Fighter winner Suga Rashad Evans when he welcomes the former Strikeforce heavyweight Grand Prix champion Daniel Cormier to the light heavyweight division. I will give you guys a backstory to this fight, as well as a full fight breakdown of the two fighters and who I have ultimately winning and coming one step closer to the light heavyweight championship that is currently held by Jon Jones. Now, without further ado, let's get this thing started right about now. Rashad Evans, Daniel Cormier. Now, this is a soul-searching year for Rashad Evans because the Rashad Evans that we all knew that was competitive and that just basically went after it with striking and wrestling and just really smothering or grounding pound his opponents really didn't show up until halfway through, because when he fought Nogueira at UFC 156, he wasn't there. He was lethargic. He was playing that patty cake jab shit with Nogueira. He really didn't go heavy on the takedowns or combinations. He wasn't mixing his wrestling and his striking very well. He just, I don't know who the hell I saw. I mean, put it that way. He lost the fight by unanimous decision, and he was pretty much for the first time in his career, suffered 2 back-to-back losses, because he had lost previously to Jon Jones at UFC 145. However, Rashad would rebound from that by defeating 2 Olympic-level wrestlers in the likes of Dan Henderson at UFC 161, which he took a very close decision over because he won the fight by split, and about that he could not get Dan down to save his life until the second, but that was barely. And he got rocked in that first round, but he had Dan in some trouble in the third, and he took the fight by split. And then most recently at UFC 167, when he battled Chael Sonnen, that's when Rashad showed up. That's when the Rashad Evans we all knew showed the fuck up, because he was in shape, he was focused, he was motivated, and he went in there, took Chael down, took his back, ground and pound, finished him in the first round, TKO, baby, all the way. And now he's got to battle arguably his toughest challenge to date, other than Jon Jones, when he faces the Strikeforce heavyweight Grand Prix winner Daniel Cormier, who had a rather interesting year himself. I mean, at the last Strikeforce event, he destroyed, the can that they gave him in Dion Starring by TKO, in a bout where he controlled every single aspect of that fight. And then he finally made his transition over to the big leagues in the UFC, and he was finally going to get his long-awaited matchup with former UFC heavyweight champion Frank Mir in the co-main event of UFC on Fox 7, in which he fought a very ugly, crappy, just disgusting bout against Frank Mir. Because all he did was hold him against the cage and beat his ass. That's all he did. I mean, he looked uncomfortable in that octagon. The fact you're in the UFC, there's a lot of pressure and all that type of stuff, but you're on Fox, bro. It's time to basically showcase your skills and show everybody why you are one of the baddest men on the planet, and get some new fans. I mean, and get more sponsorship, dude, because the more exciting you are, the more people want to see you. And the fact is, you had Frank beat in almost every category except jiu-jitsu, but all you had to do was avoid the ground with him, or basically follow the Brock Lesnar model, which is basically when on the ground with Frank Mir, control his posture, control his arms, press him against the cage, and boom, boom, boom. That simple, bro. You got the heavy enough hands to do that. But whatever. I mean, you know, then he got in another bout. The guy who was talking tons of trash about him, and Roy Nelson at UFC 167, and he looked much better in that fight, showing off that, you know, great stand-up that he has. I mean, Daniel has got great hands, great kicks, and everything like that, and he came there. He came with it. He showed off his athleticism. He took him down. He outstruck him. Fight by unanimous decision. Roy had nothing for him at all. Period. And after his bout with Roy Nelson, he made his feelings be known that he's going down to 205 to battle whoever the light heavyweight champion is and take the belt. He wants the light heavyweight championship of the world. And, you know, he's making no beans about it that, you know, he wants to kick Jon Jones' ass. I mean, and to do that, he's got to face Rashad Evans. Now, the question is, at UFC 170, are we going to see Daniel Cormier come down to 205 pounds and make a huge splash and decimate his best friend in Rashad Evans? Or are we going to see Rashad go 3 for 3 against Olympians and give DC a big-ass, Olympic-ass kicking all over that octagon at UFC 170? Now, the answer to that question will be coming up next. When breaking down these two champion level fighters in our tale of the tape, obviously Rashad is a little taller than DC, not by much, by like an inch. I mean, he's 5'11", DC's 5'10". That's not going to be too much of a factor, I don't think. What could be a factor, though, is the fact that Rashad has like 3 inches of reach on, because Rashad has a 75-inch reach, DC has a 72-inch reach. Cardio-wise, I say they're both good. They both can go 5 rounds full or 3 rounds full. This is going to be a 5-round fight, and I don't think it's going to be that much of an issue, but it could very well be an issue for DC because this is his first cut down to 205. That's the X factor in this fight, because if he's lethargic, then Rashad can pick him apart. Now, when it comes down to their striking, now Rashad Evans, I feel he has the cleaner boxing than DC, but at the same time, I think DC's a better overall comprehensive striker, as I've said many times over, because he is not just a headhunter like Rashad. When he's punching people, you know, he does great level change. He goes from the head to the body, and then he mixes it up with a kick after he's done the combination. You know. Now, both of these guys got great hand speed, and they're fast. I mean, Rashad Evans did throw some kicks in there. I mean, yeah, he threw that kick on Jon. He threw that kick on Sean Salmon and knocked his ass out. And he's got a mean overhand right. But at the same time, I think he's rather limited with his stand-up, and he's got a questionable chin. Because when Thiago Silva turned it on him, Man, that bitch was almost knocked out. I mean, and if Thiago would have basically followed through, he could have knocked Rashad out. Same thing with Rampage. If Rampage would have followed through and not let Rashad recover, he would have knocked him out. That's the thing with Rashad's stand-up, though, is that it's kind of limited, and the fact of the matter is his chin is questionable. And if somebody like DC coming down from heavyweight connects on that chin the right way, it could be a good night. So striking-wise, I give it to Daniel Cormier just because he mixes it up better with his punches and his kicks a lot better than Rashad, and his knees as well. But make no mistake about it, both of these guys have great ground and pound. Now wrestling. Now, obviously, both these guys are pretty good high-level wrestlers. I mean, Rashad is an excellent MMA wrestler. He's got the most takedowns in light heavyweight history, and Daniel Cormier was arguably the greatest wrestler at heavyweight, for goodness sake. I mean, Cain Velasquez is awesome. I think he was the number 2 heavyweight player as far as wrestling is concerned, but now he's the number 1 with DC moving down to light heavy. But nevertheless, though, I think Daniel's much better than him wrestling-wise because he's an Olympic-level wrestler. He's much stronger than Rashad. And nobody has been able to take him down at all. We've seen Rashad get taken down by Tito Ortiz. We've seen Rashad get taken down by Phil Davis. We've seen Rashad get taken down by Machida. But we have never, ever seen Daniel get taken down by anybody. So, wrestling advantage, Cormier. Jiu-Jitsu, nobody. Because while they're both ranked in Jiu-Jitsu, Rashad has a black belt, and DC has a brown belt. But neither one of them really use it in their fights. And I think DC has a submission maybe on his record, but that was a long time ago. But he doesn't really use it. And Rashad has some submissions on his record too. But when's the last time you see Rashad use a submission in the octagon? Never. But both these guys have great top control as far as their ground game is concerned, and they can get out of submissions. That's the end of the story right there. Now, as far as their game plans for this fight, I think DC is going to basically shoot on Rashad whenever he wants to and take the wrestling up with his striking and just really pour it on the guy and probably knock him out. If not knock him out, then beat his ass to a 5-round decision with his superior striking, because he's going to mix it up with level changes, with punches from the head to the body, kicks, knees. He does it all. He mixes it up well, and he threw a lot more kicks than the Roy Nelson fight, and he's got great wrestling on top of that, and he can launch people up in the air like he did Josh Barnett. He is very strong. He's got great top control. I mean, Rashad might have cleaner boxing than DC. Same time, that might be great and all, but if you don't mix it up with a head kick and body and leg kicks and stuff like that, kicks to the leg and kicks to the head and kicks to the body and everything else, then you're pretty one-dimensional, buddy. That's all I'm going to say about that. Now, Rashad's game plan, I believe, is pretty much similar to Daniel's. Mix it up with his wrestling and his striking, check the leg kicks, try to basically take advantage of the fact that this is Daniel's first cut at the weight class, so it's going to be a little bit of an adjustment process for him to a certain extent. He's going to try to take advantage of that and try to pour it on Daniel and try to take him down, although I don't think he's going to be able to take him down. And if he does, get some ground and pound in and stuff like that, but I don't see Rashad taking down DC. So we could see a complete strike fest between two wrestlers if the wrestling is neutralized altogether in this fight. But ultimately, who I have coming out the victor is Daniel Cormier. Just because, unlike everybody else, and just like Machida, when he has Rashad hurt, he is going to follow through and he's going to put him away. He's got better stand-up than Rashad Evans all the way around, Rashad has cleaner boxing, obviously, but Daniel mixes it up better. And he's got way better wrestling. He's stronger than Rashad. And at light heavyweight, I think he's going to really be a force. And he takes this fight by either knockout, TKO, or by decision. And Rashad, I think after this fight, is going to probably start using his jiu-jitsu more often. And start using more kickboxing technique. Because, dude, this isn't like 1995 or 2001, buddy. You gotta mix it up in mixed martial arts. I mean, he's been successful up to this far, but when he fights a guy who can basically outstrike him, he has problems. When Jon Jones did it, he lost a fight by unanimous decision, and he had a mouse over his eye. Actually, I take that back. He looked like freaking Uncle Fester when Jon got done with him. But the fact is, Daniel's going to win this fight, move on to probably light heavyweight champion is at the end of the year. Because we already have a title fight at UFC 172 between Jones and Glover. And then, of course, if
Henderson wins against Jimmy Manuha in London, then
first in line. But if he loses, then DC can come in and take the title shot against Jones. And, you know, he finally gets his title shot. But it really depends on what ifs. Who wins, who's going to be the champion, is going to decide who's going to get the next title shot. Rashad is going to build himself back up. Maybe a bout with Shogun, who finally, I want to see that fight and build himself back up to another, you know, up the ladder, maybe 2 more, 3 more wins, then he gets a title shot, eventually. But that ends today's fight prediction video. I'll see you guys for the next one.